Thank you, Greg, for that irregulous introduction. Fellow Toastmasters, colleagues, and friends, thank you for being with us on this morning. In my public profile, amongst many things, I am identified as an activist. Now, for some people, that's as filthy as a dirty rag after an oil change. And for others, it's about as refreshing as a cool drink of cucumber water on a hot summer's day. Why is there such a difference when we hear the term activist? What do you think of when you hear the word activist? Do you think of the yesteryears of people with long hair, lacking showers, chained to a tree for days? Or do you think of someone who is being mauled or sick by a dog, the young teens of the 1950s and 60s? Or perhaps you think of someone in denim jeans, a hoodie, headscarves, face mask, proclaiming, "I can't breathe," or "Black Lives Matter." Depending on how you think of the term activist, garners your response to the term activist. On this morning, I encourage you to think of the term a little differently and to think about yourself as an activist. When I was a young girl, I possessed two characteristics that were hazardous to my health. I did not have the ability to keep quiet or be still. Now, for many of you who might have grown up in Montessori schools or in environments where you are encouraged to use your words, tell me what you're thinking, particularly in adult conversations, that might seem ridiculous. However, in most Black families, conventional, traditional Black families, a child that did not know how to be quiet or be still was very irregular. Because it was our job to be seen and not heard, and also to be still. You know those moments when your mother would take you out in public and before you got out the car, she would give you the speech, you don't want anything, you don't see anything, you don't touch anything, because you are not to be present. Yes, you are with me, but that's only because you have to be right now. But as impossible as it might be for you to imagine, I was the little kid that could not abide by the rules. And one of the things that I had to consistently talk about were the things that didn't make sense to me. Now you can imagine a 9-year-old girl with a world of things that did not make sense to her, particularly about adults. And so that led me to my foray into my life into becoming an activist. When I was 9 years old, after almost 3 years or so of year after year, summer after summer, being a cheerleader for the Little League baseball team that my church ran in the neighborhood, I went to my mother and said, "I want to play baseball this year." Now, mind you, I am the worst athlete in the world, to this day. However, if we're having a competition on speed reading, I'm your girl. But I went to my mother and I said, "I want to play baseball this year." And she looked at me and she said, why? You don't really seem to be kind of athletic person. Now, all of my brothers and sisters were like star athletes. However, I found it very disturbing that the expectation for the little girls in the church were to stand summer after summer after summer without questioning, cheering on our brothers and their friends as they played Little League Baseball, and some of them were really horrible. But it was our expectation, because we were girls, to have to cheer them on year after year. And so I went to my mother and I said, I don't want to do that. One, because they're not great, and two, because I want to have the option of being able to do whatever I'm capable of doing regardless of standards. It doesn't make sense just because I'm a girl that I don't get to play. Thankfully, my mother did not create a tremendous argument, and she signed me up. I did get hit in the eye with a baseball that year, but I went through and I participated for a season in Little League Baseball because I was becoming a feminist. I didn't have the language for it, but I knew that things that were not logical and just happened because they happened didn't make sense to me in my world, particularly around gender. Now, again, I tell you, I did not become Moni Davis. And if you all are not familiar with Moni Davis, she is a baseball player. However, I like to say and think that our activism is what happens when we begin to live out our passions for life. And so I ask you, are you an activist? When I think about Craig Hafer's charging us to be a part of Club H, then I see an activist. When I see Alex, who charges us to think about our relationship with the ocean and the inhabitants of the ocean, I see an activist. So yes, she is an activist, and I see that you are activists as well.
Thank you, Stephany. I can see your brothers and sisters now wishing they were public speaker. Our second speaker is Jocelyn, and evaluating Jocelyn is Zach. Zach, can you tell us a little bit about her speech?
Yeah, Jocelyn is on project 1 of the Competent Communication, the Icebreaker, everybody's favorite speech.
All right.
It is 4 to 6 minutes, and her objectives are to begin speaking before an audience, to discover speaking skills you already have, and skills that need some attention.
Great, thank you. Jocelyn is a graduate of Indiana University, Bloomington. She is currently the Conference and Event Specialist at the National Swimming Pool Foundation. She enjoys discovering life in the Rocky Mountains, and in her free time, she enjoys feeding virtual cats